Om Tad Paramparaye Vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tanno Guruh Prachodayate Om Om Yoga Maharishi Dr. Swami Geetananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Yogacharini Puduvai Shakti Kalaimamani Ammaji Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani Guru Mata Ki Jai. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Namaste, Swagatam, Buongiorno, Buonasera, Buonanotte, Huya More, Boreda, Kia Ora, Salamat Pagi, Ayu Bovan, Ayushman Baba, Suprapad, Swagatam. What a beautiful day to be with all of you. A beautiful day to start the new year. The new year 2022. Beginning this day, the first day of this new year with yet another Scintillating Saturdays. What can we expect from a new year? What can we hope for from this new year that has just been born? How do we go about it? How do we manage the challenges that come up each and every moment in our lives? Well, to me, all of this boils down to the simple concept of hope. H-O-P-E. And for me, one of the most important attributes of being human. An attribute of being human is to have hope. Because the moment we lose hope, well, we often stop living. To have hope in one's heart is to live life. To have hope in one's heart is to be alive. Because hope comes from a deep, deep, deep sense of connectivity to something much bigger than us. When we talk of the word hope, we have to have a realistic perspective to it also. Because often we have hopes that are a bit unrealistic. And this is where I would say pragmatism and hope, when they go together, you can actually bring out an amazing cocktail. Pragmatism and hope, when they work together harmoniously. It's basically like your head and heart working together, the same type of thing. Because when we talk about hope, we are talking about our individual self having a sense of connectivity with something bigger and having a trust, a belief, a faith in something much bigger than us, and having that understanding that we are not alone. One of the greatest aspects of hope is the realization we are not alone. We do not have to do it all. We have a beautiful support system. A beautiful support system. And what is that beautiful support system? Well, if a person has religious beliefs, they will find it in religion. If they have belief in their own self, they are going to find it in themselves. And if they find a belief in some other external sense of support system, they are going to get it there. So every individual has the opportunity for this growth out of the sense of I am on my own and so I am alone, and so I am lonely, we start to realize we have a support system. That support system may be our immediate family, it may be our society, it may be the planet, it may be the universe, the galaxy, and it may be that pure consciousness that pervades everything. I was having a look at a few things yesterday while I was winding up 2021, and what a year it has been. And I came upon a statement which is very interesting. Because Friedrich Nietzsche, he is claimed to have made a statement, a very interesting statement, which is, hope in reality is the worst of all evils. And I had to read it a few times. Hope in reality is the worst of all evils. And this is attributed to the Pandora box, idea that Zeus gives all these evils to humanity and gives hope also, because that hope will then prolong their misery. So Nietzsche had the idea that hope prolongs your misery. This is one interpretation. There are people who interpret it differently, and I'm not going into that part. And I was just thinking about that, because this is so different than the Indian perspective. The Indian perspective is there is suffering, dukkha, as both Maharishi Patanjali and Siddhartha Gautama Buddha tell us. Dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha. There is suffering, but you don't have to be locked in suffering. There's a way out. There is a way out, and that is where the transformational power and transcendental power of hope comes in. So hope can be transformational. It can transform the individual, and it can also help the individual transcend that which is apparently the suffering. So hope as an opportunity for both transformation and transcendence. And both transformation and transcendence lie at the essence, the heart of yoga. That's what yoga is all about. Transformation and transcendence. And hope is part of that transformation and transcendence. We want to transform ourselves. Now, I'm not talking about the people who buy a lottery ticket and then hope to win. That type of hope, definitely, I go along with Nietzsche that yes, okay, hope in reality is the worst of all evils, in his essay on the man 300 years ago. No, quite good, 300 years ago. Yes, if you are going to put your hope on who's going to win your election, if you're going to put your hope on, someone coming to, build a house for you, if you're going to hope that just sitting on your backside, everything is going to, work out well, there's a slight tinge. The yogic tinge is a bit different. Because hope, and that is why, yes, Renata, one has to be careful, because what happens is that hope is connected to expectation, and that is where pragmatism has to come in here. Pragmatism has to be there in hope. I had a student of mine in yoga therapy, and all of you know my perspective on yoga therapy is it has its strength, it has its limitations, and we have to address very, very much strength and limitations. Strength and limitations are so important when we address therapy. So I always tell people, you need to address what is it that that individual is seeking, what are they hoping for, what is the best outcome the individual care seeker is hoping for. You have to address that. You have to have pragmatism of how much of that hope can be attained, short term, long term, mid term, all of that. And you have to deal appropriately in a very pragmatic manner. As I said, heart, head have to work together. Head alone, you go mad. Heart alone, you commit suicide. It's like you cannot have them separate. If they are separate, you're gone. It's all about bringing them together. Yoga is all about bringing your heart and head together. You have to have both working together. So often, we talk about this, that an optimistic outlook is important for patient outcome. But that optimism should be pragmatic. Somebody who's in, third and fourth stage of cancer comes in and, you start saying, oh, come to me for yoga therapy and I will cure you. That's not hope. That's falsehood. That's falsehood. So we have to be very careful. Where is the line between hope and falsehood? Hope should be pragmatic and based on Sat. Because if hope is divorced from Sat, you are giving person a false hope that then will lead to disappointment. Because expectation leads to disappointment. So if I am hoping for something that is not rational, not pragmatic, and not obtainable by self-effort, the key here again is self-effort. So hope has to go along with self-effort. That is why do your best, leave the rest. There is the element of hope there. Ishvara Pranidhana is a type of hope. But you don't just hope sitting on your couch, eating potato chips, becoming a couch potato. You don't hope that everything will be fine. No, that is absolute downright stupid. You need to make the effort. So your hope and your self-effort, Purushartha, have to go together. That is why when Maharishi Patanjali talks about this, the element of Shraddha comes in. As part of your sadhana, there has to be Shraddha. Shraddha is faith, Shraddha is belief, Shraddha is conviction, Shraddha is hope. So that has to be there. But it has to be coupled with virya, strength, endurance, courage. The doing has to go along with it. You don't just say that, I hope everything will be fine, and you sit on your couch. No, it's not going to be fine. You have to do something about it. If you want something to be fine, you have to do something about it and then hope for the best. This hope for the best can only come after you have done what you need to do. Fulfill your dharma. The bedrock of consciousness, as Ammaji so beautifully tells us, the bedrock of consciousness is dharma, dharma, dharma. You have to fulfill your dharma. Automatically then the rest of it comes. And this is where there has to be pragmatism. I told the student of mine, I said, you are talking to people and they are coming with terminal conditions and you're saying, I will cure you with yoga. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He said, I'm giving them hope. I'm like, that's not hope. That is, you are setting them up for disappointment and delusionment. Don't set people up for that. One has to be very pragmatic in one's approach towards hope. This is where the Indian approach to this is so different than the modern approach. What are people hoping for? They're hoping for a new car. They're hoping for a new husband, a new wife. They're hoping for, their children to get into the best school. The hope is limited to all these mundane, materialistic things that are based on the unreal. And that is why I was just looking at Nietzsche's statement. He doesn't just say hope is the worst of evils. He says hope in reality. Because if you interpret it in another way, none of this is real. None of this is real. So what is happening? We are locked in a false sense of hope. So when you are having a false sense of hope on something which is false, you have set yourself up for disappointment. But when your hope is one of Shraddha, when your hope is based on Shraddha, and along with that Shraddha, you are empowering that into action by Virya and becoming worthy by remembering the messages, remembering your lessons of Smriti, and developing through Samadhi into Prajna. And as Padma so beautifully has put it, pragmatism is prajna-matism. There has to be prajna. Because through that prajna, you start to realize. Through that viveka, you start to realize. You realize that dukkhameva sarvam vivekinah. All of this materialism, all of this false sense of attachment that has come out of a false sense of knowing, avidya, all of this is anitya. Anitya. It is impermanent. So you say, oh, I want my father to live forever. No. Even you cannot hope to live forever, okay? You cannot hope to live forever because you have a human body that has to disintegrate. The first part of our life is growth, and then the second part is degeneration. Growth, degeneration. In pediatrics, they talk about growth and development. I say growth and degeneration. The first part of your curve is growth, the second part is degeneration. Can you prolong the growth and can you retard the degeneration? That is what you can hope for. You cannot say, oh, I'm not going to die. It is like all those people who, oh, I'm going to chant the Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim and I won't die because it is Mahamrityunjaya. No. It is to overcome the fear of death, not to overcome death. It is to understand the immortality of the spirit and realize pragmatically the mortality of the human body. The human body is mortal. The spirit is immortal. So you are, through the power of hope, connecting to the spirit, the Atma, not this false sense of who we are right now. That is why Krishna says the spirit, it is never going to be born, never going to die. It's not cut by any sword. It is not burned by fire. It is not wetted by water, because it is beyond all of that. It is transcendental. And we want to move into that transcendental state of understanding what that spirit is. That is where hope comes in. The hope that drives your sadhana. The hope that drives your journey towards the absolute reality. Not getting stuck with this apparent reality, the false sense of apparent reality with which we identify. And oh, I hope that, the rain will stop today so I can go out and play cricket. One of the key aspects of salutogenesis, the paradigm shift that we need to make in health care. We have been so locked in pathogenesis. We have to move into salutogenesis, wellness, wholesomeness, purnam. One of the aspects of salutogenesis, in fact, the heart of salutogenesis, around Antonovsky's concept of salutogenesis, it is basically swasthya in the Indian tradition, swasth. Defined so beautifully by Acharya Shushrut thousands of years ago. But coming back, the heart of salutogenesis is a sense of coherence. A sense of coherence. You have a sense of coherence, and when something really, really nasty happens to you, as has happened to us in the last 2 years, for all of us on this planet, there is a sense of losing that and becoming incoherent. So many of us have become incoherent in our lives because of the tragedies brought on by this pandemic. Incoherence is very, very apparent. We lose the sense of coherence. We go into incoherence. We don't know what to do. This sense of coherence, SOC, is the heart of salutogenesis, because there is a pervasive feeling that everything will work out in the best possible manner. Doesn't that sound like hope? Everything will work out in the best possible manner. Everything, Purnam. This is where you have to look at everything, not just your thing. All of us are only looking at our thing. We have to look at everything. Everything will work out for the best. And sometimes with the pandemic, we often think maybe this is what is best for the planet. It may not be best for us, featherless bipeds with flat nails. May not be the best for us, but it may be the best for the planet. So in the bigger picture, we start to understand something is there. But coming back to the sense of coherence, there are three important components. And the components are that my world is understandable. I feel my world is understandable. The second is my world is manageable. So the first one is my world is understandable. The second is my world is manageable. And the third, my world has purpose. Understandable, manageable, purpose. This is what the sense of coherence is all about. Now, what is very important for this to happen is that we need to reflect a lot. Atma Vichara, Swadhyaya is the key here, because we start to try to understand what is my role here, what can I hope for, and how can I bring my hope into action. So hope cannot stop at just hope level, not at the intellectual level, not at the cognitive level, not at the verbal level, but it has to translate right down into your day-to-day activities. Swamiji used to often comment on this. He used to say, if you want to be happy, do happy things. If you want to be healthy, do healthy things. If you want hope, you hope to be happy and healthy, excellent, very nice, good New Year resolution. Hope you keep it longer than the 2 weeks to Pongal. With that hope, there has to be activity. You want to be happy. What do? Happy things. You want to be healthy? Do healthy things. But everybody wants to do unhappy things and be happy. They want to do unhealthy things and be healthy. Now that is where the problem comes. This is the split that we human beings have between the head and the heart. Oh, I hope that this year we'll all be happy. Very nice. What are you? What are you going to do to bring that into fulfillment? Or are you just going to be that nasty moron that you are and hope everything will be fine? Because you hope. You have to put it into every thought, word and deed of your life if you want that hope to manifest. Otherwise it is just vikalpa, delusional psychosis. And there are too many of us having that already. Don't be one of those people with delusional psychosis that, what are you doing about it? What are you doing to make that manifest? What are you doing to further the probability of your hope actualizing? Oh, I hope I'll get my PhD. Very nice. Have you started your data collection? No. Have you done your literature review? No. Have you had your ethical clearance? No. Have you registered with clinical trials? No. Have you paid your fees for PhD? No. Then what the hell are you hoping about? This is the commonest problem we have as human beings. This is the commonest problem. And then we say, oh, God is not liking me. Do you like yourself enough for God to like you? Have you made yourself worthy of it? Your aspirations, are you making yourself worthy of your aspirations? If not, it is delusional psychosis. It's not hope. Hope springs eternal in my breast. Alexander Pope. $300 ago, essay on man. Hope springs eternal in my breast. Yes, hope is eternal because growth is eternal. Growth is eternal. The spirit is eternal, and so hope will be eternal. Because as long as the spirit is there, hope will nourish it. Hope will nourish it. How does it nourish it? By putting it into action. You want the world to be a better place, you hope the world will be a better place, do something about it. You want your life to be better, do something about it. You want society to be better, do something about it. You want the yoga world to be better, better do something about it before it's too late. Oh, I am too small to do anything. No, nobody is too small. Because everyone is part of the whole. Everyone is part of the wholesomeness. It's like every cell in your body is part of who you are. Every one of us is part of what humanity is. When we start to change, when we start to work on ourselves and transform ourselves, we are transforming the whole of humanity. So it is not just an individualistic perspective. Often people think that hope is very selfish. Actually, hope is very altruistic. Hope is actually very altruistic if you look at the bigger picture. This hoping for a new car, hoping for a lottery ticket, that's as I said, that's not even hope. That's fantasy, delusion, vikalpa, according to Maharishi Patanjali. Hope implies a capacity to give over to something bigger. It implies acceptance, Ishvara Pranidhana. It implies Shraddha, that there is something bigger that is part and parcel of me. I am part of something bigger. And my every effort will count. My every effort will count. My every effort to be healthy and happy will count towards the health and happiness of the whole. My every effort to evolve will count towards the wholesome growth of humanity itself. It is very altruistic. And this is why hope is not just at a mundane level. And this is why, again, going back, do your best, leave the rest. That hope, which is leave the rest, should be always based on you having done what you are to do. That is where the bedrock is dharma, and the bedrock is one fulfilling one's own swadharma, the purpose for which we are born. Because Krishna is very clear. He says it doesn't matter how big or small your purpose may be. It doesn't matter how greater or smaller other people's purposes are. That is their purpose, that is their race, that is their journey, not yours. And he says, better to die performing your dharma than be a big shot doing somebody else's dharma. Better to perish in attempting to fulfill your dharma, your swadharma, than trying to live somebody else's life, however great it may seem to be. The message is be yourself. It's so vital that one is living one's swadharma, that one is fulfilling dharma, because when you fulfill dharma, the artha component, the material component will happen spontaneously. I have seen it again and again. The karma, the emotional fulfillment will happen spontaneously. And the spiritual fulfillment of moksha will also happen spontaneously. Those three are going to come. What do you need to do? What do I need to do? What do we need to do? live our dharma. That is where hope comes. I should hope to fulfill my dharma. And then I should do what is needed every moment to realize that hope. Everything else will happen on its own. And this is why hope springs eternal in my breast for sure. A hope that we as humanity can change. A hope that we can help each other. That we can have an empathic, compassionate understanding of each other. That is what our great rishis have said. Sahana bhavatu sahanau bhunaktu. May we all work together to achieve that height of Tejasvi. We become a Tejasvin. Sahana bhavatu sahanau bhunaktu sahabhiryam karvavahi Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In our culture here, Lord Muruga, the youthful god, son of Shiva and Parvati, he is always shown standing there and making a statement. Yam irka bayamin. When I am there with you, why should you have fear? I am there with you. I am your support system. When God is your support system, what are you worried about? Yamirka bayam yedu. Yamirka bayam yedu endru abhayakaratudane kachitaruvan velan. Velan, the one who has the veil, the spear. Kanda Swami Muruga. He says, Yamirka bayam, all the divinities in this part of the world are shown with the Abhaya Mudra. Fear not. I am there for you. You don't have to worry. I am there. Can't we manifest the divinity by being there for each other? I think that's so vital, that we are there for each other. We become the support system for each other. We create this collective oneness that can see the bigger picture. And then definitely the outcomes are going to be something you can hope for. Because there has been that transformation. The whole is always more than the sum of its parts. And that is where that miracle occurs. That miracle that we often hope for in life. When we start to come together, when there is that collective evolution of consciousness, when there is that collective transformation. But how will collective transformation occur if you and me are not working on our own self-transformation? How will the collective transcendence into the higher levels of consciousness occur if you, me, we are not doing that? Isn't that essential? That is our swadharma. You know, so many stories come of the Bhakti tradition in India. The Bhakti tradition is filled with hope. The Bhakti tradition is filled with hope stories of the divine manifesting miracles. The divine will manifest miracles. We have to do our part also, right? We have to do our part. The divine is there. We are ignorant of it. Because we are looking for God who looks like the picture in the poster. God looks like you and me. God looks like your husband, your child, your father-in-law, your mother-in-law, your daughter-in-law, your dog, your cat. Yes, God looks like your dog and cat. And that little pig that is going oink oink. Yes. When we start to realize the divinity is everywhere, when we start to realize the divinity in everything, that is where that Bhakti Marga flowers in its abundance. And all these great bhakti yogis, be it Nandana of the Shaivite tradition, who transforms through the grace of Lord Shiva at Chidambaram, be it Andal, Nachiyar, through the grace of Lord Ranganatha Swami, all the Nayanmas, what beautiful stories. There's a beautiful story of Annai Abhirami and how Pattar, he in his ecstasy says that there's going to be a full moon when it's going to be a new moon. Tomorrow's new moon and we are celebrating Guru Puja for Swamiji and Kamli Swami. No, new moon means no moon. And the king asks him, what is tomorrow? And Abhirami Pattar, he says, it's a full moon. The king says, you are wrong. He says, no. And he's there. And there's a dark sky, no moon. It's a no moon. So no moon, dark sky. And that beautiful iconic scene brought out in Adi Parasakti movie of this story. These are stories of our culture where the moon appears in that sky. Maniye, Maniyin Oliye. What a beautiful TMS performance there. And they showed that the goddess takes the earring and throws it into the sky, it becomes the full moon. This is part of folklore. This is how culture grows. Because when you're in that state, when you're in the state of ecstasy, when you're in the state of samadhi, when you're in that state of oneness with the divinity, whatever you hope for manifests. Because it is not you, individual, fat, bloated ego and your hopes, but it is the hopes of the divine itself. We need to raise our consciousness into that divine consciousness where whatever we think is the thought of the divine. Whatever we say is the thought and the words of the divine, and whatever we do becomes the action of the divine. That is our responsibility, to raise our consciousness so that our hopes are not an individual Dr. Ananda's hopes. They become hope of the divine itself. And if it's the hope of the divine, it's going to manifest. As simple as that. It is only when it is egocentric, distorted, perverted, greed. Oh, my hopes were scattered. Yeah. Because where did they come from? They came from an impure, transient place. When it comes from a pure, eternal place, it will manifest because it is in the ritu, it is in the rhythm of the universe itself. It becomes satyam, ridagum satyam, because it belongs to the universe, because you have grown. I think it is important in this new year to realize that we need to work on ourselves so that our aspirations, the hope that springs in our heart, should be that of the divine itself, not an individual, limited perspective. It should come out of a divine, universal, wholesome perspective. And then we need to work towards it. When we start to be worthy of our aspirations, well, all of it will manifest in abundance. I wish that in this new year, 2022, that all our lives are filled with abundance. May we grow as human beings. May we realize the gift of being human. May we live as human beings. May we understand ourselves. May we be more understanding of others. May we understand the importance of loving, caring and sharing. May we all grow together. May we all go through the process of transformation and transcendence together. Have a very happy new year, and may we all be connected, because when we are one, there's no fear. Namaste, Dhanyavadaha. Thank you so much for being with me, and hope you'll continue to be with me, because for sure I'm going to be with you. Love you all so much.